Hi, it's Sue. Thanks for joining me for today's Bible reading for May 20th. 2nd Chronicles 35 to 36, only 2 chapters, and we are done with this book. I have to say that 2nd Chronicles was much more enjoyable than 1st Chronicles for me. If you were listening with me, you know I didn't enjoy that very much. It just had a lot of those genealogies, which again have interesting tidbits. Every once in a while you find a little gem. I like them for the education purposes to put together my Bible puzzle pieces. Sometimes I find those missing, jigsaw pieces in there, but still a lot of names to try to pronounce. And anyway, Second Chronicles has been really good. Lots of rich material and interesting narratives, important uh, stories from important people from that part of history. Very good, very good. I've enjoyed it. So we have 2 more chapters left. Let's get into them. I'd love to know what you think about the reading. Don't be shy. Feel free to comment or even email me if you'd like to. The internet can be a lonely place. My husband and I love connecting with people. So we'd love to pray with you or what have you. Discuss the Bible. Right here, verse 1, 35:1. Josiah kept a Passover to Yahweh in Jerusalem. They killed the Passover on the 14th day of the first month. He set the priests in their offices and encouraged them in the service of Yahweh's house. He said to the Levites who taught all Israel, who were holy to Yahweh, put the holy ark in the house which Solomon the son of David of Israel built. Excuse me. It will no longer be a burden on your shoulders. Now serve Yahweh your God and his people Israel. Prepare yourselves after your father's houses by your divisions according to the writing of David king of Israel and according to the writing of Solomon his son. Interesting they didn't mention Moses there. Stand in the father's houses of your brothers, the children of the people, and let there be for each a portion of the father's house of the Levites. Now I know David's the one who's, David and Solomon built the temple and set those things in order, but still. Well, that's why they didn't mention Moses. Verse 6, kill the Passover, sanctify yourselves, and prepare for your brothers to do according to Yahweh's word by Moses. See, I spoke too soon, but I knew he played in there. Josiah gave to the children of the people of the flock lambs and young goats, all of them for the Passover offerings, to all who were present, to the number of the 30,000 and 3,000 bulls. These were the king's substance. His princes gave for a freewill offering to the people, to the priests, and to the Levites. Hilkiah, Zechariah, and Jehiel, the rulers of God's house, gave to the priests for the Passover offerings 2,600 small livestock and 300 head of cattle. Conaniah also, and Shemaiah and Nathanael, his brothers, and Hashabiah, Jael, and Jozabed, the chiefs of the Levites, gave to the Levites for the Passover offering 5,000 small livestock and 500 head of cattle. So the service was prepared, and the priests stood in their place, and the Levites by their divisions, according to the king's commandment. They killed the Passover, and the priests sprinkled the blood which they received in their hand, and the Levites flayed them. They removed the burnt offerings that they might give them according to the divisions of the father's house of the children of the people to offer Yahweh, as it is written in the book of Moses. They did the same with the cattle. They roasted the Passover with fire according to the ordinance. The boiled, it says the boiled, but I think it means they. They boiled the holy offerings in pots and cauldrons and in pans and carried them quickly to all the children of all the people. Afterward, they prepared for themselves and for the priests, because the priests, the sons of Aaron, were busy with offering the burnt offerings and the fat until night. Therefore, the Levites prepared for themselves and for the priests, the sons of Aaron. The singers, the sons of Asaph, were in their place according to the commandment of David. Asaph, Heman, and Jeduthun, the king's seer, and the gatekeepers were at every gate. Remember I said Asaph, that was the one mentioned in Psalms. I assume it's the same one mentioned in Psalms. So David wrote some of the Psalms. Asaph wrote them. And I don't know who else. I don't know if anyone knows who all wrote them. So David, Asaph, Heman, and Jeduthun, the king's seer, and the gatekeepers were at every gate. They didn't need to depart from their services because their brothers the Levites prepared for them. So all the service of Yahweh was prepared the same day to keep the Passover and to offer burnt offerings on Yahweh's altar, according to the commandment of King Josiah. The children of Israel who were present kept the Passover at that time and the feast of unleavened bread 7 days. There was no Passover like that kept in Israel from the days of Samuel the prophet, nor did any of the kings of Israel keep such a Passover as Josiah kept, with the priests, the Levites, and all Judah and Israel who were present, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. This Passover was kept in the 18th year of the reign of Josiah. After all this, when Josiah had prepared the temple, Necho king of Egypt went up to fight against Carchemish by the Euphrates, and Josiah went out against him. But he sent ambassadors to him, saying, What have I to do with you, you king of Judah? I come not against you today, but against the house which I have war. God has commanded me to make haste. Beware that it is God who is with me, that he not destroy you. Nevertheless, Josiah would not turn his face from him, but disguised himself that he might fight with him, and didn't listen to the words of Necho from the mouth of God, and came to fight in the valley of Megiddo. The archers shot at King Josiah, and the king said to his servants, Take me away, because I am seriously wounded. So his servants took him out of the chariot, put him in the second chariot that he had, and brought him to Jerusalem, and he died, and was buried in the tombs of his fathers. All Judah and Jerusalem mourned for Josiah. Jeremiah lamented for Josiah, and all the singing men and singing women spoke of Josiah in their lamentations to this day. And they made them an ordinance in Israel. Behold, they are written in the lamentation. They are written in the lamentations. So I guess that's the book of Lamentations. I don't know, but you have Jeremiah here, and he's the one that wrote Lamentations. So never noticed that before. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and his good deeds, according to that which is written in Yahweh's law, and his acts, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. 36, last chapter. Then the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and made him king in the father's place in Jerusalem. Okay, you have two different names here. Two different spellings. I think this must be a typo. I want to get the names right, even though they're hard and I'm probably messing them up. I like to try. The first one says Jehoahaz. The second one says Joahaz. And I'm sure they're referring to the same person. So Jehoahaz, son of Josiah, and made him king in his father's place, Jerusalem. Joahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. The king of Egypt removed him from the office at Jerusalem and fined the land 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. The king of Egypt made Eliakim his brother king over Judah and Jerusalem, and changed his name to Jehoiakim. Necho took Jehoahaz his brother and carried him to Egypt. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. He did what was evil in Yahweh his God's sight. Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, came up against him and bound him in fetters to carry him to Babylon. Remember, that was right at the time of the exile. They were invaded 3 times. And Jehoiakim went, I think, in the first invasion, the first exile, the first batch that were taken, So Nebuchadnezzar also carried some of the vessels of Yahweh's house to Babylon and put them in his temple at Babylon. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and his abominations which he did, and that which was found in him, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. And Jehoiakim, his son, reigned in his place. Jehoiakim was 8 years old when he began to, let me turn the page. When he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months and 10 days in Jerusalem. He did that which was evil in Yahweh's sight. At the return of the year, King Nebuchadnezzar sent and brought him to Babylon with the valuable vessels of Yahweh's house, and made Zedekiah, his brother, king over Judah and Jerusalem. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. This is a very shortened story here. This is repeated elsewhere, I think, in Kings. So it says, he did that which was evil in Yahweh his God's sight. He didn't humble himself before Jeremiah the prophet, speaking from Yahweh's mouth. He also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who had made him swear by God, but he stiffened his neck and hardened his heart against turning to Yahweh, the God of Israel. Moreover, all the chiefs of the priests and the people trespassed very greatly after all the abominations of the nations. And they polluted Yahweh's house, which he made holy in Jerusalem. Now see, this goes with what I said yesterday, that it's like light shining in the darkness. Somebody would come and restore everything to God's order, and then the next leader would come in and let it all go to trash again. Just like you shine the light in the darkness goes push back, and then you turn the light off, and he comes back in to fill that vacuum, right? Like pushing back a jungle is what I had said yesterday. Like trim it back, leave it alone, it grows right back. So here they are. After Josiah put everything in order, they let it go again. So let's see, where did I leave off? So he rebelled against Jeremiah. That expression, when a king goes rogue or when leaders go rogue, the prophets show up. So Jeremiah had come and warned him. God is trying to get his attention. You're going toward destruction. Hello, waving those red flags and trying to get his attention. And it says he hardened his heart, wouldn't humble himself. So, moreover, back up just a little. Moreover, all the chiefs of the priests and the people trespassed very greatly after the abominations of the nations, and they polluted Yahweh's house, which he had made holy in Jerusalem. Yahweh, the God of their fathers, sent to them by his messengers, rising up early and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. But they mocked the messengers of God and despised his words and scoffed at his prophets until Yahweh's wrath rose against his people until there was no remedy. That's a thing of all of getting heaven's attention again. Therefore he brought on them the king of the Chaldeans, who killed their young men with the sword of the house of their own sanctuary, and had no compassion on the young men or virgin, old men or gray-headed. He gave them all into his hand. See, people talk about the atrocities that God did, quote unquote, in the Bible, but what I see is God, his long-suffering and patience and love and compassion, always trying to steer people in the right direction. And people harden their hearts and they mock and they're blind. They just don't get it. And that wrath of that bowl of wrath, if you will, is filled up to where it finally overflows, like filling a cloud with rain. And you could even say the other side of that balance are the prayers of the faithful. You know, when there's that other bowl, if you will, that we can fill up, the clouds that fill with our prayers that pour out. There's just something to that. That's just a natural metaphor for a spiritual truth. So let me go on here. They burned God's house and broke down the wall. Yeah, that's where I left. Wait, yeah, they had no compassion. Remember, I was saying on the young man, virgin, old man, gray-headed. He gave them all into his hand. All the vessels of God's house, great and small, and treasures of Yahweh's house, and the treasures of the king and his princes, and all that he brought to Babylon. All these he brought to Babylon. They burned God's house and broke down the wall in Jerusalem and burned all its palaces with fire and destroyed all its valuable vessels. Now, this is also I'm pretty sure these are in the books of the prophets too. Yeah, this story. Trying to think which ones contain it, but it's there. Leads up to this invasion of Jerusalem here. And the burning of the temple. 586 BC is when that happened. So Yahweh's word by Jeremiah, and back up. Sorry, I don't mean to confuse things, but I like to give the context here. Verse 20, he carried those who had escaped from the sword away to Babylon, and they were servants to him and his sons until the reign of the king of Persia, to fulfill Yahweh's word by Jeremiah's mouth, until the land had enjoyed its Sabbaths. As long as it lay desolate, it kept Sabbath to fulfill 70 years. Now in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that Yahweh's word by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished, Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Cyrus, king of Persia, so that he made a proclamation throughout all the kingdom, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus says Cyrus, king of Persia, Yahweh, the God of heaven, has given all the kingdom of the earth to me, and he has commanded me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah. Whoever there is among you, of all his people, Yahweh, his God, be with him, and let him go up. So that's the end of today's reading, but there was this word of Cyrus written before Cyrus, even, I think before he was born. I forget how many years. I'm sure a lot of people know that. It was something like, I don't know how many years. I don't want to say. I have some numbers in my mind. But, and then apparently Cyrus read it and realized that this prophecy was talking about him. But he gave favor to the Jews and allowed them to go back and rebuild. So that's the end of today. We're going to be going into Ezra, Nehemiah, and Esther next. So I'll see you then. Don't forget to look for the links in the description and get your free one-year Bible if you'd like one. Till next time, shalom, shalom.